Is it a plane? No. Is it a bird? No. Is it a mecha? Yes! Is it piloted by Pseudo Hitler? Yeah! This is video of a video series ranking and reviewing every season of Avatar. There's a playlist that you should check out for the rest of the videos, as some jokes might carry over from previous videos. And of course, this is a good time to remind you to subscribe. So do it. This is both critique and my opinion, but I urge you to comment if you want to. I read everything. I know most people have their critiques for Korra mostly aiming towards the second season, but it's kinda tough for me to turn a blind eye on season 4 with its mountain of problems. It has some really good ideas, don't get me wrong, but the execution is rather lackluster. This season follows Mrs. Korra's adventures into World War II as a seemingly good person turns to make atrocities in order to conquer the continent, while she tries to get scientists to create a superweapon. I know it's not a one-to-one recreation or relation with the actual World War II, but it is true that there is more than a few things that allude to it. Obviously, this isn't a problem by itself, since Ba Sing Sei can also be seen as a metaphor for China in a way. It's just that the execution is too on the nose and a little pretentious even. Regardless, this is far from the main problem. This season starts with Korra missing, her whereabouts unknown after a 3-year time skip. Turns out she's just been edgy because she has PTSD and needs therapy. Fret not, because the new Urban Nation got a slick redesign and they're gonna find her. Meanwhile though, they have to deal with the antagonist of this season, Kuvira, who under the pretense of unifying the kingdom, proceeds to conquer seemingly 70% of the world. No big though, they'll just brush it up as if it wasn't that important. Instead, we're gonna bring back more characters from the original series, as in Toph, who has had children for some reason and they saw him nailed the voice acting for her. Still, was it really necessary? It's alright to see Korra metal bend the poison herself, and she does seem to solve her PTSD issue. Emphasis on seems to. Along the time, we also get introduced to Prince Wu, one of those characters I like the most since they were kinda forced to develop him a little, and it's nice to see how he advances into a more capable leader as the season goes by without becoming a perfect leader or anything like that. It's just a small step for the Wu, but a realistic-ish one. This is when the season starts going down for real. Korra gets past her PTSD, but not really, but she did. Doesn't matter, they just utilize the issue that they just tried to solve as a way to force another issue. Namely, Korra being unable to defeat a very mediocre metal bender. After defeating 4 of the world's most powerful benders we see in this show, this is an absolute insult to the last 4 seasons. Worse yet, Kuvira is straight up wearing metal. Korra can metal bend. She is literally wearing her greatest weakness and her only weapon, and it's almost ridiculous that Korra barely gets a hit in when she could just exploit this very glaring weakness. Why doesn't she? Because she's either stupid or brain dead, and all of a sudden she wants to try diplomacy, which is the last thing you think she'd try. And of course I understand that they wanted to transition her into a more passive avatar, but they entirely forget about this premise over the later parts of the season. Sure, some episodes around here do have a few good parts involving Verek, who is my favorite character this season for being the only one consistent to his depiction on the previous seasons, plus being funny and having a good relationship with Bowling. Yes, that pronunciation is gonna be a recurring joke. So, Kuvira basically forced them into developing the super weapon that is akin to an atomic bomb, and they don't want to after realizing that she isn't as innocent as she might seem. They try to mess up Kuvira, who doesn't put up with it. Julie betrays them, though it's not easy to see it's just shapes, and eventually they do escape. Around this time, they also get to fight some mechas while Bowling forgets that he can straight up sink them in lava. I thought they mentioned this as it's one of the better fights in this season. So, what do we get after this gut punch to both Korra and the viewers? An episode where Korra and her friends get together to argue. At least it's acceptable compared to what will come after. A clip show episode. A motherfucking clip show episode. This is the precise moment I knew that this season was the worst. Even with spirits messing up a lot of important storytelling basics, they didn't do a fucking clip show episode. At least in that season, there's stuff that's really interesting amid the fart of smoke coming out of the writers' assholes, and here we get to recycle that fart smoke. So that's it, right? Don't want to set up a plot for what's about to come, and they did it as Korra often does by slightly modifying what has been previously set up? No. You get an episode where Korra goes with the guy who gave her PTSD to solve her PTSD. A very logical conclusion indeed. As logical as this guy being just fine and dandy, didn't even lose his bending. They just found another prison until he inevitably comes out and attempts to fuck the world all over again. And why 4? Because the spirits got angry and kidnapped people, so we are effectively getting 3 episodes where no plot thing related happens. And that threat seems to keep going, although a little less stupidly so, thankfully. So what happens next is that Bowling and his girlfriend, with practically no relevance, try to make up by saving several hostages conveniently kept below the testing grounds for a mass destruction weapon. Lyn, Sujin, and I guess Toph decide to join up, mostly so they can make Lyn and Toph fight over how terrible the mother Toph was. Totally unexpected, wink wink. So they save the metal benders, work a few of the issues out, bully the Sky Bison, and learn that Julie tried sabotaging Kuvira by removing an easy-to-remove part of the machine and keep it in her person. Julie. This woman has the ability to understand what the thing is, but she does not have the ability to come up with a plan anywhere near smart. She could have at least thrown the part away, but she didn't. She kept her in her pocket. So they rescue Yuli and go back to tell everyone that Kuvira is gonna bring her army into the city. They plan an evacuation, yada yada. Turns out Korra uses her regained spirit powers to have these spirits ignore her completely, cementing this episode as a definite waste of time. Then Wu shows some backbone and changes a little, managing to evacuate 99% of the city without a hitch. Into where? Good luck figuring it out. Oh, I forgot to mention this until now, but Asami does get compassionate for her father a little, and she works on making weird bird robots with him and Verek. So, out of all of this season, there's one part I actually really adore. Even if it's stupid and it almost seems like an anime parody taking itself too seriously, can I just talk about how the mecha shows up? Like, holy shit. There's Ethereal and there's this motherfucker coming out of the mountain like, anybody call a mass destruction device? It's straight up awesome. Don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly stupid that they just decided to go anime and double down on the you can't bend platinum, the most common metal in this world apparently. But that don't mean that this idea isn't amazing. If anything, in season 4 is alright. The first part of this fight is, because after that, God bless your soul to deal with the immense stupidity of it all. So after playing Splatoon on a robot's head, they realize that the robot can one-shot obliterate them, and attacking it from the outside is not a great idea. So they try to get in. They come up with a plan to make a hole using laces from bird robots, and off they go to make a hole. They try to distract the robot, but they can't make the full hole since the robot has super extremities, and at this point Korra uses her bending skills to freeze the robot and give people time. And she does nothing afterwards. She could freeze it for longer, but no. Why? We need to sacrifice someone. But who? Let's not have the balls and just kill Asami's dad. And she is gonna cry. In it, we don't give a fuck about this cunt, but he is dead. Fuck off. He does the hole and they get in. They break the cunt's machinery pretty much afterwards, literally making this robot just a walking piece of metal and having infinite time to solve this properly. But they won't. Korra will try to fight Kuvira, uselessly, as Mako decides to blow up the machine power source in the middle of the city. But worse yet, this ass has decided to do it from the opposing side of the room to the exit. He could lightning bend in place. He's shown this before in season 1, and yet he stood in the only place where he could die for no absolute reason. There's dumb, and then there's fucking Mako. Bitch can suck all of my cock. So the robot explodes as a robot would when an idiot blows it up from within a confined room that has a clear exit staircase, and Kuvira and Korra keep fighting from outside. However, Kuvira finds the gun part of the robot just standing around there like Ex Machina, and despite the machine being broken and the fuel source being gone, it still fucking works! Anyways, one thing leads to another. Korra protects Kuvira from the Ex Machina machine, and apparently the shoot was so strong it opened a new spirit portal. So yeah, Korra can just do this now, even though the spirits practically wiped their asses with her hair that she cut at the start of the season. A much better time for all of us. So, this ends with Barry and Julie doing the thing, which is pretty nice and very wholesome, while Korra and Asami hint at the relationship. People always made a fuss about that part, but it's literally the least of this entire thing's problems. So after this summary, did you even question whether or not I like this season? Look, I regularly don't get too expressive with my critiques since my comedy tends to be either deadpan or extremely silly, but in this case, they don't just drop the ball, they dropped every single geometrical shape and made a stew akin to baby vomit and inconsistency. Every single thing Korra has ever done wrong was done wrong here. I appreciate a few of the ideas, and there are some cool moments that made me really happy and they look really cool. Hell, I don't even mind Korra-Asami, and if we had gotten a 5th season, I would have loved to see them together. But the overall thing is just an insult to everything Avatar has done from Aang season 1 to Korra season 3. I fully believe that people like this season more because they enjoyed Korra's 3rd season since it's pretty good. How good will it be is to be seen in the following videos of this marathon. So yeah, balance is the worst part of Korra to me, and that's why it gets the last spot. The 7. And yeah, I know I speak weird, shut up.